Hello all, and welcome to Lorelines, episode 15, Fowl and Hawk speaking. This week we're discussing part 2 of our Bozja series, and we'll be discussing the Southern Front, Delubrum, Reginae, and then we're going to talk about 5.55 main story quests. I hope you're all excited. We missed you. Welcome back. And I will go ahead and open up comms.
I'm watching you all.
I'm watching you. Everyone, are we all here?
Sounds like something Emmett would do.
Probably.
Viewers, how's audio? Can you hear everyone?
Watching you. Well, it's not watching me, but
What?
I
nothing,
don't know. We're off to chaos already.
We're
I'm
off
being-
to a great start.
I'm being stupid. I'm not knowing lyrics. Just leave me alone.
No. Anyway, how is everyone?
I'm doing great. It's been a heck of a week. I finally
It
feel recovered from
has.
FanFest, though.
Yeah. I'm still recovering from FanFest.
That's funny.
I'm still
you
recovering
know
from my second
Lobby?
vaccine shot. Woo!
Oh boy. Yeah, relatable.
I said, do you know Lahi?
Do you know La Scree?
I will pray. Lahi. Musico stato.
You need more. You need more excitement in that voice.
I don't know about all that. Yes. Yes.
Oh yes.
Yes.
I stayed up both days for the entirety of the concert and closing.
I stayed up pretty late too.
ceremony.
I stayed up long enough to see the Emmett VA and the other VAs.
That was a good show.
Braha and
I really
Uriante,
liked that.
That they were like reading the lines. They picked all the best lines to reread.
It's so
The part
good.
where he says where Hirono, where he says Azem made me very happy.
He delivered that perfect. He delivered it just like the Japanese scene.
I think there is a video, Sludge. I saw it at some point.
I think
Sure there
they some people highlighted it on Square Enix Final Fantasy 14. Official.
Why? I wonder.
It's funny. Well, anyway, I guess the topic at hand. We are missing a person today. Cobran has decided to pass on today's, but I'm sure we'll welcome him back next week. And I think last week we discussed all of the pre-quests and pre-story to the Bosnian Southern Front involving the
Yes.
meteor incident and various other things.
Yeah, the memory stuff.
The memory stuff, Mikoto, the Echo, all that content.
Yep, we discussed primarily the Bosnian incident and the people behind that incident, and pretty much the prelude to what the resistance weapon storyline and the Bosnian Southern Front pretty much came to be. So today we'll be diving into the actual Southern Front and Castrum and Delubrum Reginae. So who would like to begin? Because I know this is a very fun topic for people who enjoy Bosnia.
I'm actually in Southern Front right now, just to refresh my memory.
Cheater! You're cheating on us with Bozja.
Right.
I mean, I'm about to be farming the Rabanasta raids while we're doing this.
That's
I need to
funny.
Progress my
It's
relic.
Bozja, for all of its faults, of which it does have some, has turned out to be pretty good at, I think, the main thing of like world building in Ilsabard, but also like having some pretty genuinely good writing and good like gameplay with the lost actions, and Delubrum being a really interesting raid, Lacus Litore having some interesting stuff like the Adramelech fight. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. It's just a bit rough in the edges in certain places.
To be honest, it's such an improvement over Eureka that it
Yes,
doesn't
that's
even
for
feel
sure.
like Eureka anymore. In a
Like-
way, like I enjoyed Eureka and its
Yes, did I.
particularities, but it wasn't mature until at least the third and fourth instance. So
Yeah, it didn't. Pyros was what really brought it into its own with the Logos actions, where lost actions and Bozja, like a continuation of that.
Exactly.
Pagos and the earlier stuff was just, it felt very much outdated relative to what the rest of the game is like, and very hard to stomach at times.
I still actually
Without doubt.
prefer Eureka so far, but not including Pagos, which I nicknamed Pegos for reasons which are
Legos?
probably obvious.
Like, did you say
I would
Legos?
definitely agree with that. I remember doing Pagos when it was real, like current, and yeah, no, thank you. The dragon farming was enough.
I mean, one of my reasons for hating Eureka was basically the reason I actually did not finish Eureka was because I set foot in Pagos and was like, I'm not going to set foot here anymore. Anymore, and yeah, I never set foot in Eureka again.
I also tend to think that the writing quality overall, with some exceptions in Bozja, has been better than Eureka. Eureka's main thing was that it just contributed more information about the Valdesians, which was good, but like, I feel like there's a lot more to be gained from learning about what Bozja has to offer in that department.
Well, it's
And
got
Bozja has a lot
You-
more story.
Right.
Mhm.
I think that you feel that Matsuno is working in Eureka, I mean in Bozja, in the Bozja storyline with. For those who love how Matsuno writes, Bozja is mostly a treat. So I actually enjoy the whole quest line. That's just me. Perhaps I can see why it may be rough rough on the edges in some points, but that's a very minor thing for me. I really love the storyline and the lore.
So should we give a slight synopsis of the lore then?
Yeah, I have it pulled up actually right here.
Excellent. So yeah, go ahead.
So would we like to start from like the prehistory, back when Varus, or back when Solus was emperor, or would we like to start with? I mean, because we already did it last time. Maybe we started.
Yeah.
We did that last time, and
Mhm.
so actually, I would like to start with current.
Yeah, I would like to
and just
discuss
kind
the
of-
actual war, why we're going there, what our goal is, how the goal changes as the storyline progresses, and then go into Castrum and then Delubrum
All right.
in some degree.
So we were called basically by Heian, and we needed their assistance on the Bosnian Southern Front. Basically, that was the start of the quest, our very start. They're told the state of the Eastern Alliance's efforts against the Empire. The Dalmascan resistance remained fractured despite the efforts of Fran of Lent's Tears. However, another group of fighters, the Bosnian Resistance, who you all know, seek to join the alliance. But of course, they're very big in number, so they seek the assistance of the Liberator of Alamigo, us, in rallying their people to reclaim the land that was once theirs. The Warrior of Light meets with the Bosnian representative, Marsek Apella, who takes the Warrior via airship to the Resistance's base in Gangos, which is just west of Dalmasca. There they meet Geralt, Makoto, and basically that's where we kind of start. We use that Gangos as a place of operation. Their leader, Basalian Ogash, explains the situation. The 4th Imperial Legion Legatus Noavam Gabranth has stationed forces in the city of Valnain, leaving Gangos relatively unguarded. Reports by spies indicate that Gabranth intends to send forces led by his second in command, Menenius Sans Lenatus, to reinforce their hold over the Hrothgar homeland. Before this happens, though, Basalian wishes to capture Castrum, Lacus, Litore, but lacks the forces to do so. And he employs Messia Voitash to recommend that has recommended the Resistance reforge the weapons of the Blades of Gunhildr, which you all know as the guards of the legendary Bosnian Queen serve as a symbol of defiance. What made these weapons special were the arcane inscriptions created by the original Gunhildr, and Geralt suggests that they need to be acquired to truly reforge the equipment. The original weapons were lost in the Fourth Umbral Calamity, but replicas exist in the Bozja Citadel up until its destruction caused by the Meteor Project. To this end, Makoto suggests that exploring the memories of those who would have a chance to see the replicas via a special crystal focus created by the ancient Bosnians seers to explore all Altor memory. From there, of course, we went into Makoto's whole process of peering into Sid's memories. Sid tracks down and finds out what all happened with his past, kind of mends it. Going into the second part, we have that fight with Varys, of course.
That was a really fun encounter, actually.
I actually did that again this morning, and it is. Varys EX is a little less fun, in my opinion. It very much feels like Lone Stacks the fight, but
yeah.
even it has its elements that are fun. A tribute to a person we never actually got to fight in person.
That is the whole synopsis of the story. Val.
Thanks.
We're on to chapter 2 now, which is kind of more current. This would be where the resistance weapon storyline starts off. The preparations have been completed, and with the news that the Blades of Gunhildr have been reforged, Bessalion uses the momentum to preempt a strike on Castrum, Lacus, Litore. Wall is deployed alongside all the successors to the recreated weapons, field the turn to tie the battle. As the fighting begins, Makoto, Messia, and the Ironworks representative Legia, which it's so weird to see a Vieira as an Ironworks worker because the Vieira are not known to kind of work with technology. They're used to stick to tradition. They're very traditional people, and if they venture outside of their traditions in any way, it's primarily to discover other areas to hunt and forage. So her working with technology like this is interesting, to say the least. Lucia began conducting surveys on land to find a place to recharge the crystal of focus. So this is where you guys had to get different camps set up around the area, which had been drained during the excursion into Sid's mind. The wall. During one such survey, the machinery operated by Lilesia appears to be broken, and Messia volunteers to head the Ironworks base in Doha to replace it. Resistance pushes forward. Makoto finally finds a suitable location to recharge the focus. At the location, Messia reveals her true colors, taking the focus and holding the scholar hostage, force the warrior to stand down before she makes her escape. The warrior relays to Bessalion and Marsak the news of the betrayal, and they deduce that Makoto had most likely been taken to Castrum, Lacus, Litore, later confirmed by Lilesia as she traces the aether of the crystal focus. This is where you enter Castrum, Litore. So, who wants to talk about this? Because this raid is, I wouldn't say controversial, but at the time it was.
I kind of expect it to become controversial again, honestly.
It's what it was is the way, and the reason it was doing so is because it would have a spawn timer. Whenever you would enter the instance, it would be like, I think, an hour spawn timer in, and then 1 hour after its completion, another time it would spawn.
I forget the time exactly, but yeah, you had to actually play the Southern Front for a bit and kind of wait for it to pop, and that's still the case, but it's significantly easier now to get a group because they added bonus loot that helps you with the relic, where before it was really, 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 really hard to get anything out of it.
Apparently, if you're doing, I forget if it's skirmishes specifically or critical engagement specifically, but if you're actually in an instance that's doing those, that does shave time off of the respawn timer for Castrum.
Oh, interesting.
Before you really didn't.
A lot of people don't want to do Southern Front because of how the relic drops work.
Oh, they're so low drop rate. It's ridiculous.
Before you really didn't obtain much value by doing Castrum Lacus Litore, except by advancing your relic weapon. There was really no reason to go back into it. Except to maybe help another player or your friends. So they added an incentive with tomestones, and it helped a little bit. But otherwise, it was just another Pazuzu.
Yeah, it's a good. Eureka kind of has a good parallel to that. They've improved it with time, though.
Hell,
You
I
know-
think I would prefer Pazuzu over Castrum because at least that's one fight to wipe on, not multiple.
I've been in Pazuzu once in my short stint.
Yeah, Pazuzu wasn't really that. Like, if you enjoyed the content at all, you'd see multiple spawns per
Mhm.
session. Just if you really like went at it and were interested in hanging out in Eureka.
I
for a
don't
long
know. I'm
time.
not in game. I can't tell if he's up or not. Anyone else have thoughts on at least overall Castrum Lacus Litore before we actually go into the nitty gritty of it?
I
I mean,
enjoyed the
mechanically,
content.
yes, but lore-wise, no.
Yeah, there's not much to say on the lore. I mean, you fight as you go through the southern front. You fight various.
I
Gosh,
kind
they're
of
not
There's
generals.
there's lieutenants and stuff that you fight.
Yeah.
Hernace the Tenacious, Clarice.
Oh, don't
that
worry. We'll
experiment,
go
the
into
Bog.
that. But like
Yeah.
overall, as the overall your thoughts on it and how it relates, gameplay mechanic wise, without
the
having to go into.
The most lore interesting thing for me in Castrum specifically was the fact that we get Adramalik there.
Yes, that was my thought as
We'll
well.
go into that. Meowth, you said something.
Yeah, well, if we're discussing lore regarding Lacus Litore, I would,
Without going into the people inside.
without going into the people inside, okay. I mean, I'm not the expert to talk about mechanics, so I'm just going to say I enjoyed Lacus Litore when I run it, and the fact that the first boss is a Final Fantasy 13 boss, I just
Without going into the
I
people inside.
I like
I just said it's a Final Fantasy 13 boss. I didn't say anything.
I like giant robots.
I
And
like
rules.
the ladder. We get to climb ladders in there.
I
And
like saving
actually,
captives. And
overall,
unlocking a
though,
door.
I like the whole ambience of the southern front with the trenches, the trench warfare, and also that they mix this trench warfare with another game of of the Fabula Nova Crystallis universe that is severely underrated, as that is Type Zero. Seeing all those Final Fantasy Type Zero.
That's a good
machines.
parallel, Type Zero.
Yes,
And
because
that's actually the
and
music for the mount.
yes, because the Gabriel is actually General Qatar Bashtar. Well, kind of flying machine. So yes, and seeing the Nimrods and the whole music. I mean, when you get into battle in the Southern Front in Zadnor, you get this remix of the Gangos theme. Well, the Queen, it's actually Queen Gunilder's theme basically, but you get this remix, the Blood on the Wind, that if you play Type Zero, you recognize that the style of the music, and you're like, fucking hell, Soken, you can do anything.
That's right.
Never forget it.
Believe
And
it.
I actually prefer this type of aesthetic to Eureka, where it was just kind of like open world, kind of go out and do things. I prefer the trench warfare World War I type thing where you're fighting the Garleans. For me, I loved Gimlet Dark because it's how I imagined fighting the Garleans. Like there was battles everywhere, everything broken down, mechs everywhere.
I guess we'll speak later about. Oh,
Sorry, Meowth. Can you restate some of that?
where was I cut? What was the last thing you heard?
There was an accidental mutation.
It was not my intention.
No, and I was waiting for that comment too.
Oh my lord. At least y'all
I
are
s-
making this Hoshmal fight significantly more bearable.
Such evolution.
In order to
Uh,
maintain order,
so-
one must first have control.
yes.
It's true.
and then he throws a tower to on your head.
Oh yeah, let's not talk about the
Not-
towers when
when-
I'm in
when-
here.
We were talking about Garlean fighting, and then you were talking about how Ian gives you the quest.
Yes, I was basically saying we're probably going to touch on the lore of Bozja later, but one of the things I actually liked was that you know how liberation was like in Stormblood when for Alamigro and Doma, that basically liberation amounted to the word of light coming to this land, and that's that. but but the trench warfare actually make you feel like you're actually fighting for whatever, because we know later in Bolgia that the liberation plot that was already there, that this plot was already there in the Stormblood in the patches, but in Bolgia was really interesting to see how they subverted the thing about the liberation equals you, we are right, you know, because I absolutely love that. But we're going to we'll probably get there later.
Yes. Neela, Core, Mommy, any thoughts?
Well, as people may or may not know, sorry, I'm still a little sick, but hopefully I'm understandable. People may or may not know I haven't been able to get through it myself. I'm coming here to bring the outsider perspective. Like, hey, you talked about this. That sounds like nonsense to me. I've done the first section and worked a little toward Castrum, but I haven't quite gotten to Castrum yet.
I thought you said you were maybe 2/3 of the way through your last level.
Trying to get to 10.
You're getting there. You're getting there.
Yep.
I wanted to ask the team, do we want to change to the one of the watch party slides and get some pictures up, or no?
Yes.
I certainly can change now. I just need to unmute the comms sections and not do it when people are talking. I didn't know they were muted. My apologies. All right, let me hop over to that now, and I'll fix it real quick. Okay, everybody speak.
Everybody
Speak.
speak.
Hello.
Audience?
Yeah.
You also must speak.
Brown cow.
Brown chicken,
Well,
brown cow.
I should go on to say
Brown
that
chicken, brown cow. Oh, that's
I had
great.
spoiled myself on story because I know it's going to be a long time till I get there. So I do have some opinions.
Well, we want them.
Go for it.
Well, I mean, this is like end of the story stuff. I'll get to that.
But this is for 5.55 stuff, right?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay. So everyone's pretty much given their thoughts out on Castrum, Lacus, Litore before we go actually inside and actually kind of review the bosses.
Yeah, I think so. I got more to say about the people inside.
Yep.
I kind of want to touch on some of the fate encounters, but I don't know where to start. I mean, we made the joke last time about
Yeah.
but
So that's the end. That is something that we can bring up real quick. So you'll see the blades, and the people you're fighting with, the Bosnian resistance. You'll see them occasionally pop up in the field during the fates. At least on the Bosnian Southern Front, they will actually help you, and you'll hear them talk occasionally. You'll hear them use their abilities occasionally. They'll be fighting alongside you. Kind of makes for a kind of like a more active experience, and it feels more like you're fighting alongside them in this. Later on, of course, there's more of a revelation there, but we'll get to it. But I just thought it was really neat to have, fighting alongside NPCs again, like we did in Gimli Dark, and actually having their abilities go off and being able to use those abilities to your advantage, seeing the blue AoEs come out and using those to deplete the health of the enemies that you were already fighting.
Of makes
Really
you care for,
strategizing with the NPCs.
Yes.
makes you actually bond and care more for these characters that in this storyline were just introduced. So yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, Blaz and Zevin and all of them, like they do
Yeah.
feel like characters when you're actually fighting with them.
And that's what you get in what are called the field records. If you complete critical engagements, which which are the more of the big scale ones. And wait, do you get them from also the
ones you
smaller
lock
ones
in,
too?
those are the
For
critical engagements.
skirmishes too.
You can get them from
Skirmishes too.
skirmishes and critical
Mhm.
Okay,
engagements.
so both the skirmishes and critical engagements, you'll get things like dog tag, which are kind of like little entries, little records, little history bits on a person who was involved, sort of in that fate. For instance, if one of the blades helped you out in that fate, and a field record for them dropped, you could learn more about them, where they came from, their reason for joining, and again, like Meowth said, it just kind of adds to the flavor of the whole battlefield experience. You learn more about who you're fighting with. You get to make that connection with the character, and you get to care more about them rather than just some NPC running around.
A note: you learn more about who you're fighting with and who you're fighting against, because you also get those
You also get yes,
from enemies, and you learn that their reasons for what they're for why they're there, and you realize it's it's really nice, because you realize these people you're fighting, there are people too.
and
Yeah.
and it goes back to the part where Yoshi P tries to really drive home the point that there is no really good and evil. It's different points of view.
And that's the theme of this expansion by far.
It's definitely the theme of this expansion. You can't label something as evil just because it looks evil. There's a point, there's a reason behind what they are doing, and just because you don't understand it doesn't mean you label them as a villain.
Or that they wrong. Doesn't
correct.
mean neither of this.
It's just like Fordola, who chooses the losing side that's apparently not losing side until very, very late, to try to get some standing in what she feels is the society of record,
And it
she definitely would have been on our side if it were apparent we could have won to begin with. But we're just like, Warrior of Light can totally kill that guy.
And it becomes prevalent later on too that what the Fourth Legion is trying to achieve is very noble. It has a good goal, but the way they're going around about doing it is a little messed.
They want to found a nation that is more equitable and founded in like good principles of like equality for all and meritocracy, but the way they're going about it is definitely bad, particularly in their reliance on the Lucavi and other
Yes.
like primal like entities
Anyone else have any thoughts before we go into Castrum?
Well, regarding their reliance on the Lucavi, it makes me think of the way the 13th went splat.
Yep.
I would like to use game capture to pull up the lore tabs for the various NPCs, but shrink it so that we can only see the window. What do you
I actually have something even better for you, which I'm going to link to you.
Let's do it.
Link to all of the records.
Oh, I'm so going to read this.
You're welcome.
More
Yeah, for
machine now
anyone
than
who
man.
hasn't actually looked at the field records yet, we know more about the characters in Bozja than we do about the Scions because there's just so much in the field records.
I
for
wish we
these
had field
characters.
records for the Scions, honestly.
Right?
Dude,
Additionally, if you get all the field records, you get a mount, which is like more than the Scions
Yes.
ever gave us.
Well,
Wow.
Wow.
yeah.
and the cool thing about that is they start naming off places that you've heard of before, also in other games, detailing the Evil universe, like
Has
Leomond.
anybody played Vagrant Story?
I haven't played, but I read the story for it.
So fun and so underrated. Criminally underrated game. But anyway.
I know Matsuno's work enough to know I would like to play it.
Do we
Pulling up
want
the browser
to... I was going to say, let's go into Castrum before we delay too much on it.
Sure, go on ahead.
So, first boss, Brianac and the 4th Legion Helldiver. Since we fight them both at the same time, we can go over both of them. Like Meow said, favorite because 13 boss, right?
Brianac is the 13 boss, and it's actually based on the tyrant mobs of the 5th arc, if I remember correctly. It's a potion machine, but here it was used as basically a Magitech big thing. So yeah, but they can't fool me with Final Fantasy 13.
The fight itself, and this is because I'm a lazy shit, but I do like playing on the bottom one. Incredibly fun to keep running around and not have to worry about magnetizing things.
I love top.
Just
leave that one alone, I think.
Yeah, Bonnie's
Bonnie,
gonna...
go ahead, Bonnie.
I mean, me and Bonnie are definitely thinking it, but
I'm not saying shit.
I'm a fan of magnets. Yes.
Not saying a word. Going into the next one, the prisoner rescue event. This one, I did not really expect. I didn't expect for us to be so active in doing it. I thought that, it was going to be like a cutscene at the end or whatever. But we are literally splitting up and going off to save the individual prisoner, which is awesome, by the way. And I don't know, I can't remember. Do we actually run out? Do we actually gain like items for?
Yes, you get extra
every single
chests
one of the
depending on
prisoners?
each one you save.
yeah, if you rescue all of them, you get extra chests when you're finished in drama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
So definitely
Tip,
save
if
them.
you want to rescue the freaking prisoners easier, go on healer, pop a Essence of the Ordained, and bring Lost Death.
I bring death every time.
Yeah,
aren't you a
Essence of the
hardcore
Ordained
badass?
makes it so that your Lost Death has higher accuracy.
Red Mage has instant lost death. Dual cast.
There are some lost actions now that can make Black Mage just cast things instantly.
No, Blue
longer.
Mage is instant cast death.
Lost Flare Star has got to be amazing on Black Mage when you can regen your
Oh,
entire
it
pool of
is.
mana by leading Blizzard.
It is, and I've tried it, and it makes me cackle wickly.
I'm like, Shroud of Saints, maybe. Please, is it up?
But
Whines weakly.
charging into the rooms and killing the Garlean wardens before they execute the prisoners is pretty awesome. You're in a race against time basically, and having one person on each of the switches, it's a great alliance coordination thing. And not to mention the boss before it, Brianak and the Fourth Legion Helldiver. You obviously had to coordinate with your alliance who would go up top, who would go up bottom. With the prisoner rescue event, obviously as well, you had to kind of split off and figure out who would go to which room, which group of people would go to which room, and break out the prisoner. So let's go on to the next one, which I think we're all excited to talk about. The Lucavi Adrumal. So we all know, and I believe I've talked before, that Gabranth has in his possession several of the Orosite that have been known to turn men or those who hold it into avatars of almost demigods, I guess you could say, almost demi-primals, basically.
Demi-primal is a great word. We should use that.
Not quite a primal, but very extremely powerful. The first one we encounter is Adramelech, the Roth, which the opposing sign to that one is Meowth.
Yeah, do Dalaphon.
Okay. That was a fun fight. That was extremely
I love that it's multi-elemental, which of course is not unique. It's a Dramalek, but I just love seeing it. I love seeing it, where there's lightning, there's ice, there's fire, there's wind. It's just glorious. I really like that fight.
That was probably the fact that Dramalek was multi-elemental. I gave some thought because Dramalek is lightning elemental in the Valisian lore. But then I gave some thought and I realized, wait, in which other game was Dramalek portrayed aside from Final Fantasy 12? And then I realized that it was my first Final Fantasy ever. That was Tactics Advance, and in Tactics Advance, you fight a Dramalek where the mobs, actually the ads of this fight, are three dragons. One is a fire dragon, and the other is an ice dragon, and the other is a lightning dragon. And Adramelech himself has the breath attack of all three elements. And I was like, have these bastards actually taken inspiration from Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced Adramelech? Because I mean, just for I said that in the server a while ago, but Final Fantasy Tactics Advance is one of these games that we should actually.
It's underrated completely.
Yes, but for Endwalker, I think we should actually delve into this game in many senses.
I may take you up on that because I avoided Advance because I didn't like the aesthetic changes. I was so accustomed to the PS1 release of War of the Lions that when I saw Advanced, it just looked almost like childy.
You missed a good game.
I'm sure
A2
I did.
was good too.
I didn't play either of them. I just saw them. I'm like, okay, something changed here, and I didn't pick it up.
I invested probably a good 500 hours into the Advance on my first file.
Game.
First
file.
I max leveled in Chapter 1 in Tactics on one of my 8,000 playthroughs. You just have to hit each other.
No, No, but yeah, Dramalek was a big surprise on hearing. I think it was Albelio, yeah, is who transforms into Dramalek. Hearing Albelio, reading, say the same words that Dice Dark Beowulf says when he transforms into Dramalek in Fantasy Tactics, and it was like big. It was a big evolution, fangirl moment.
Yeah, it's like something as the gods have spoken and they are indeed wroth.
So this is what it's like
Aside of
to
that,
become
yeah,
a god.
this is yes.
Was it Albaleo?
I think it was Albelio, yeah.
I'm on
Yeah,
him now. Sadr Rem Albaleo.
Yeah, that guy.
Ulda, age 37.
Shard of Orsight, yep. Recovered from ancient Evilis.
That dude's strong.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fair to. I think it's kind of not safe, but relatively safe to assume that Bosnia, back in evolution times, it was part of the kingdom of Evilis. Because, I mean, you know, we've speculated a bit on Evilis from time to time, but I think we never actually delve into the weight of Evilis in the 14th world.
Matsuno wrote it so well into the 14 lore, and
Yes.
it's almost like he just wrote Tactics. The sequel to
read it.
Tactics.
It is
Just-
like
just
that,
read
isn't it?
I like to think that 12 and Tactics are very close to being canon for 14 because of how well they've written it in for the most part.
I'm itchingly close to agreeing.
And with how well he wrote the police raids, it's almost like he fixed the ending for Tactics so well that you may as well kind of tie it in.
Yeah. Not just that, he also wove a background story into that.
Yes.
Because the intro for, as far as I know, there's this intro, but this kind of a poem, written. It was a screenshot. I actually remember that one. Written by someone in that was A.J. Duray, and Duray, we know that's the last name of both Oran Duray and Araslam Duray, who in the Evilist series in 14, Araslam Duray is Genomis and Lexentail. And then I realized, okay, so this is a poem written by Araslam Duray, but where is the J coming from? And then I realized, Genomis and Lexentail.
Yes.
It was kind of a big eureka moment. No pun intended. Anyway, yeah, moving on.
Moving on to Dawan and Lion.
I said Leon just because
Leon, Lion. I like Lion just because Beast King.
Just call him Lion Remelsos.
Leon.
because the writing, I mean, how it's written, the name reminds me of the French city of the same name that's pronounced actually Lyon. That's
I love
that's
this
why-
character.
He's wild.
great.
He's something.
He's wild. He's like ornery, right? He just wants to fight some dudes.
He's got a good fire to him.
I like
And
how he
he's a
goes
normal
on
human.
monologue and he's just like, gee, it'd be terrible if someone overheard this. Wink, wink.
Right, and he just kind of looks back.
He's like,
Yeah.
But he's still he gives you the clue, but he's still loyal to the Fourth, and I think it's actually really interesting because kind of Leon does pretty much what he wants. He's just he's a fierce character, and he is probably the only one who Menenius actually lets do as he pleases.
He actually kind of acts as like almost like a moral compass in
am I
some ways.
missing him?
Menenius at times.
Yes.
If you are, you know where to find him.
Hmm.
I fought him so many times. How am I missing it?
I think he might be on tab 3.
And he also may be locked behind a solo duty,
Oh, that's true.
solo duel.
Hmm.
Oh, good point. I need to volunteer.
There is a point where you can fight him in Zadnor.
That's true too. He does pop out on the field.
Menenius does as well.
It's rare, yeah. Well, I'll pull it up on the site then. That's what it's here for.
That's right.
He's
I found that site
interesting.
last night, and I was like, oh yes.
Yeah, I had been looking for a place that had all of them because I'm like, I don't know if I really want to stay in Bozja long enough to get the solo notes, and those are what I'm missing.
Yeah, they're tough to get all of them, unfortunately.
There's uh-oh.
Like, I
you go.
want the mount, but
Spoilers.
There's 2 of them. There's 2.
The new one's from Zadnor,
Zadnor.
and
Yep.
I'm sure you caught it. Looks like he gets a promotion.
Other
from-
things.
Goes from Rem to cool.
68 years old, Landis. I know that he's loyal to the Fourth, but I think he's loyal to Landis and to the leader of the Fourth.
Yeah, I mean,
If we're being real.
fair enough. I mean, this is a guy who's actually fighting for his country, and it just happened that Landis is an ally of the Empire, so...
Pilus Prior of the 4th Legion, also known by the epithet the Beast King. A mainstay of the 4th, the indomitable Leon has faithfully served 2 generations of Gabranth legatuses, first the father, Bosch, with whom he shares a homeland, and now his son, Noah. Having known the latter as an infant, he forgoes protocol and always refers to his commander as Dear Boy, as he always has. My boy.
Boys!
Since the beginning of his military career, he has exhibited tremendous talent for warcraft, swiftly rising through the ranks to become a centurion and distinguishing himself during an invasion of Bozja well before his 20th name day. Now a grizzled soldier of 8 and 60, it would seem that Leon's best days are far behind him, but his vaunted skill at arms betray no sign of decline. On the contrary, his wealth of combat experience makes him all the more fearsome as he charges into battle at the head of his beast contingent in clashes against the Bosnian resistance. I love this guy.
I actually like him even more after that because he's friends with a character in that part of the story as well, and I really like that character too. So the two of them teaming up is like the terrible duo, ravaging the land as Beastmasters. I love it.
Team of badasses.
Badasses.
I actually remember when I first read the field entry of Menenius. I was lucky enough to get that one, and I actually laughed when it said that Menenius is I think it was her grandfather. For some reason, when Garlemald was still a republic, the note quotes he earned the ire of Emperor Solus and his family was banished. And I was kind of thinking to myself, what the fuck did Menenius' grandfather did to earn the ire of Emperor Solus? And I remember jokingly saying that he probably woke him during a nap or something.
I was dreaming about a Zim. It is time for you to pay.
That's so funny.
I was like, oh god, what do you have to do to earn the ire of relatively well-born emperor?
You don't have to do much, honestly. He hates you and your body.
Oh god.
That's quite an insult to throw at someone. I hate you and your body.
I actually remember someone saying that to Van Daniel.
Manila definitely wouldn't.
I mean, because he was Asahi.
Can I just say also that I like Menenius' armor and I really want it, and I hope Endwalker gives us lots of opportunities to get Legatus armor.
That would be cool.
Because we're totally going to be friends with the Garleans going forward.
Oh, for sure.
Giving us the judge armors was just
the preamble.
I I know I'm never going to get my hands on one of those, but seeing them in game was like, oh god, my Final Fantasy 12 fangirl.
Well, they're really easy to get if you don't care about being able to dye them.
I would like the dyeing part though, like the dyeing
Mhm.
version of them in Delubrum. I hope that the grind for that becomes a little easier with time because I'd really like to get the dyeable versions.
Yeah, Yoshi P was saying that if you want to do Delubrum Savage, then definitely try it with the honors system or whatever it's called. I keep wanting to call it
the
by
new
the 11 term.
That's actually true. You can get the honor system with the better buffs and everything, and the new
Mhm.
memory actions. Like that's probably going to make Savage easier.
I want Sauter's armor.
And nuke everything, yeah, basically.
So let's go back to the fight
Yes.
with
Yeah.
Dewan and Leon. So fighting his Griffin. I die a lot.
I understand that.
It's a rough fight.
Yeah, I definitely died a lot early.
Markers are confusing sometimes, and it also depends on who goes over also to fight Leon himself.
Yeah, that's the trickiest part. Like you need to be
interrupt.
right on top of your DPS and interrupting him and shit.
Isn't it great when the pins drop inside the boss's hitbox so you can't see if it's a cross or a circle?
Yes. I remember first doing that with you, and I was so confused. And I'm like, I died, but what to?
Yeah. I was really surprised we actually got you through that because we did it before they did the changes to make it
Before they did the changes,
more
yeah.
popular, yeah.
I mean, I was just like, late night Bozja, woo! All right, let's do this. But yeah,
I thought I died a lot in Castrum, Lacus, Litore, and then the Delubrum Reginae happened.
we'll get to that. Don't worry. The thing I like about this fight though is he brings out a lot of different beasts.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can definitely see that he is a beast master by trade.
Yeah.
He brings out pearls. He brings out manticores. He brings out beetles.
It's horrifying how many creatures he has, and he's basically his own army. What's up?
Pretty much,
basically like any Beastmaster main I knew in Final Fantasy XI, where they just carried jugs for summoning like 10 different fucking things at any given time, and I'm like, how can you stand having your inventory so full of different creatures?
He says, clearly, you've never seen my Pokemans.
Master in this game is a limited job would be really cool.
Clearly, you've never seen a 14 crafter.
My bag was full last week, truly.
You're talking to one.
How's your pockets?
Empty.
I used all the stuff finally.
After of course the battle with Leon and Dewan, we get treated to a cutscene. Back to the story here. Treated, yes.
Look on in despair.
Look on in, don't you fuckers have guns?
Yeah, like why are you just hanging out?
So Makoto tries to stop Messia, but he's beaten and questioned by Messia over her echo abilities. And while she reveals the true history behind Save the Queen, it is originally an Allagan artifact. It was taken by the original Gunhildr when the Bosnians first ceded from the Empire. The name Gunhildr itself is a title given to the current Bosnian queen, who is selected from the tribes of seers able to read the stars. As such, the queen was not always Hrothgar. So when the fourth umbral calamity loomed, Blades of the Time conceived a plan to unleash the full power of the Save the Queen to save Bosnia, a ritual of which an icon would be created. Man, that icon name keeps coming up, doesn't it?
Yes.
The then Gunhildr, injured in battle with the Allagans, refused out of fear of losing herself, and so the Blades deposed her with a puppet queen from another. But this new queen had the Echo, and was thus able to control the primal, much to the blade's chagrin and fear. As such, after she safely saw Bozja through the calamity, the new Gunhildr was assassinated by her guards, and the truth of the matter covered up. Messia, as a descendant of Gunhildr's tribe, and having been subjected to the blatant classism that formed Bosnian society, thus decided to side with Gabrand's vision of a new nation. Now, the resistance pushed far enough to launch an assault on Castrum. Meninus withdraws from the fortress under orders from Gabrand, leaving it in charge of his second Saturem Albeleo. That's a tongue twister.
It is.
And
Albaleo.
Leon Remhelsos. The warrior, Basalion, and Marsak lead the other Blades and Resistance soldiers in the siege, where they managed to fell Albaleo, which you did when fought Adremelik. However, as the Resistance celebrates its victory, Messia appears with the captive Makoto and saved the queen. Holding Makoto at the edge of death, she forces the Warrior of Light to use the focus to enter the memory hold held by the Holy Blade. The Warrior and Makoto witness the events of Gunhildr's death unfold. However, Messia also manages to enter the memory and alters it, planting a seed of hatred in the queen and causing the Lady of Blades to awaken. With the icon Gunhildr under her command, she manages to temper the blade, which turned on their former comrades. This surprised the hell out of me.
Oh, really?
I didn't expect
tactical
this
genius.
to just. I didn't expect this to all just kind of go to shit like all at once.
See, I kind of expect the worst out of people IRL and therefore characters in game, so I was not surprised.
To be fair, I mean, in the moment you don't see it coming, but then it happens and you're like, yeah, this is Matsuno we're writing.
How can we tacticalize this? That's a word, right?
Well, because like in Matsuno's writing, he doesn't have tempering. He doesn't have that
Yeah,
like
but
story concept. But now he does, so now it's like, oh, now I get to tinker with this ability. How can I
can
write
make
this into
people
my
mind
work?
control.
Ooh,
No,
shiny
but at
new
the same-
toy.
A really sexy girl boss who's able to bend tempering to her will. Yes, please.
Use it right here. Plot point secured.
Is it
Also-
sad
Using
that
someone
the
else's
first
echo.
time I saw Missia, I was like, oh, so this is going to be a villain because they never give us like good-looking row females in the game, like ever.
Is it because of her
Unfortunately.
makeup?
No.
The whole like dark makeup. Oh, she gives you that
Yeah.
gets you a girl that gives you a Rogadin stare with dark makeup.
She has
Something
a look.
so-
See, I actually when Missia first appeared, I actually recall with the silver hair and stuff. I was kind of bugged by her hairstyle that was later added, and then I was like, why the hell does that hairstyle kind of seems familiar? Then I realized it's Vaughn's hairstyle.
Yeah.
Oh, no wonder I don't like it.
Damn.
No, don't say bad things about Vaughn.
Something stood out to me while you were reading that. You said something about that they would pick this queen, back in the day, something about the power of reading the stars.
Yes.
That's very interesting to me. Sorry.
So
The old
it's
Bosnian
implied that it's like the ability Mikoto has, which is the ability to see the future through the echo.
Interesting. Thank you.
Also, there's the fact that the Bosnians knew enough of, well, whatever they knew, to have this a custom that we should actually be familiar with, to name their ruler through a title that's passed because Gunhildr, the real Queen Gunhildr, as we meet her in the notes, we know that her real name was Nembebia or something like that. She had a different name.
When they take the
Nevembia. Nevembia, sorry.
take the role, they pick the name.
And then Gunhildr is actually kind of a seat title. It's her role. So it was past. All the queens of Bosnia were named Gunhildr because it actually means basically queen. So
But
this is a custom that we should be familiar with after Shadowbringers.
Certainly. You're referring to the convocation.
Yeah, because
Although,
yeah.
well, I
Although
loathe to skip ahead, but somebody in chat, a wonderful workaround for not having female Hrothgar models. Maybe. Although, the cutscene at the end of Delubrum, which we will get to, has me thinking maybe it was intended from the start, regardless of model access.
So with that, I'll continue.
Please.
With the icon Gunhilda under command, she manages to temper the blades, which turn on her former comrades. Messia also attempts to temper Basalian and Sack, but the Warrior of Light holds her off. Makoto tries to take advantage of the situation to retrieve the focus, but is unsuccessful, while Marsak manages to retrieve her and flees to safety. Before the contest of wills can conclude, Dalmas resistance members Bwagi arrives and shoots Messia, causing Gunhilda to dissipate and allowing the remaining forces to retreat to Castrum. Makoto and the warrior relay what they know of the events, and Bysalian is shocked at the loss of the blades. Makoto notes that there is not yet a cure to be tempering found, at least not at that point. The resistance withdraws, getting us to plan their next move. Meanwhile, Menenius has returned to Lacus Litore, congratulating Messia on her success before ordering her to recuperate. The third part, now we're getting into the Delubrum region. Now I'm going to give you a quick synopsis before, and then we're going to go into Delubrum. Following the failure of Operation Nest, the 4th Legion has caught the Bosnian resistance on the back foot. However, though the forces are bolstered by the presence of Messia and her control of the icon Gunhilda, they have not made any decisive moves, leaving their forces in an uneasy stalemate. Bwagi relays news to explain the Legion's apparent lack of movement. They are now starved for resources, which has prompted allies from Dalmasca and Nengsha to launch an assault and thus slow the arrival of reinforcements to Bozja. Word reaches the party that Gunhilda has been seen on the battlefield, prompting Makoto, recovered from her ordeal, to rush off. The warrior pursues and catches up to her on the southern front, spying on Messia using the power of the queen. However, the vision itself seems to be diminished. An echo vision on Makoto's part seems to reveal the cause. The crystal focus is running out of power again. The duo return to Gengos and to relay the discovery to Bessalian. Makoto also goes on to explain her belief that the apparition Messia had used to drive back resistance forces is born of the memories of the late Queen Gunhilda. She goes on to explain that the fabled blade saved the queen and was likely designed to function in a similar fashion to the Orsight created by Ultima. Assuming this is true, Messia's plans cannot come to fruition without a substantial cache of crystals, meaning there is yet to be time for the resistance to strike back. Trusting in Makoto's vision, Bysalian gathers a contingent of troops to apprehend Messia. They find her with some of the other soldiers examining ruins in the last trace. However, it turns out to be a trap. Messia's resonant allowing her the ability to see future events. As the party fights off Imperial War Machina, the tempered blades come to the defense of their master, who flee further into the ruins, ostensibly to find a new source of ether for Save the Queen. A break in the Imperial forces made by gunbreaker Rostic allows Makoto and the warrior to lead a contingent of troops to follow Messia. Enter Delubrum Reginae. Who wants to start?
I think we should make a quick note of how different Makoto's echo visions look compared to what we usually see. Because she does not have, the sepia filter echo visions like we have and like we've seen from other characters before. Hers are still pretty vibrant, but they also have a really bright, like life stream green, wavy crap around the
They're
entire
very
edges
different.
of the screen. Yeah, it's very, very different.
And it's that she sees all these visions that she claims that cannot be altered. Like she sees the future she claims that no matter what, they cannot you cannot change them.
And found mistaken because Messia takes over.
Yep.
Yeah, so wrong about
I
that one.
actually have a theory about that to an extent with the vision that she has of Messia being cornered right before Delubrum. We've seen constantly, especially through the Bozja quests, that echo users in proximity to each other seem to get drawn into each other's visions. So I'm wondering if when we see Messia get cornered, I'm really curious if we were actually seeing her vision and not Mikoto's, but we just thought it was Mikoto's.
Could
That's
be
curious.
because Misia got the resonant echo from Mikoto.
Mm-hmm. And like we were standing right next to Mikoto, but Messia wouldn't have gone far yet by
What's the
that
Mhm.
timeline
point.
for Messia getting the resonant, though?
She got it before the Delubrum stuff was released.
Yeah.
We see her with all the machines at the end of the previous.
It's
section.
right. It's the cutscene right after Lacus Litore.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't the vision of her getting cornered before Lacus Litore?
Nope.
We
No.
talked about different things.
Her being cornered was
Interesting.
before Delubrum.
She got cornered
Interesting.
twice. Once at Delubrum Reginae also, because we had to chase her into the ruins. But that was when she
Yeah.
used the resonant. The other one was
Gotcha.
when we chased her into Lacus Litore.
Oh no, I pulled too much.
So, should we go over the whole of it, or just start going through the actual bosses themselves?
A note of interest. I mean, there's a lot of to talk about the Delubrum. I mean, lore-wise, the Delubrum Reginae is a lore bomb.
Go for it.
But I would make a note about Mikoto and something that you actually mentioned, that her vision, her future echo vision is quite live streamy. I am weirdly reminded of her when you ask her, and it's probably on her note, most likely. The Mikoto actually mentions that she has an identical twin, and I was like, I'm not going to make comments on that. You
I hope
know,
we land.
it's like, why are they? Well, I'm sorry. Sometimes I feel like I'm seeing too much into things, and then the game keeps reminding me that maybe I'm not. It's a weird feeling. But anyways, yeah, the Delubrum Reginae, that was 5.45.
5.45. Yep.
Yeah, 5. Whatever. I actually remember because mostly the memorable the start of the 5.4 trailer music, and it was turned out to be the Delubrum Reginae. But you actually remember how crazy that theme made us going.
I
Trying to
really wish that Soken would use more of that. The really ominous, evil
oh
sounding
god,
music.
I've listened to that theme a number of times, and I actually first wonder exactly why it feels so familiar, and then I realize it feels so familiar because it's so Metroid Prime.
Yes.
But are we going to discuss the bosses first, or are we going to
Well,
discuss
I
the
mean,
lore?
do you have thoughts on the actual place itself where it is?
Well, the Delubrum Reginae actually it's another thing that drove us crazy for I don't know, in the group chat. We went wild on the Delubrum, and mostly the trailer too, because the trailer for 5.4 actually had many things from the Delubrum. especially the glowy tree in the end. And
Well, we aren't here to talk about the trailer. We're here to talk about Delubrum.
it's implied that the name, basically in Latin, Delubrum Reginae, that means, kind of loosely translated, the shrine of the queen, basically.
Shrine or
So
sanctum.
sanctum of the queen,
Sanctum.
kind of, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of assuming that this place is basically the royal palace of of, of Bosnia. Also, it matches because the music theme for the overworld in this place is from Final Fantasy XII's Soken. It's actually named like that. It's CH, but you pronounce the CH like K. Soken's how was it called?
Soken Cave
Uh,
Palace.
Yeah, that one. Yes. So yeah, yes. So yeah, combining those things, I think it's safe to assume that we are getting into the Bosnia royal palace, which is interesting. That, as in, why the hell did they have a glowing tree in that palace? But anyways,
We never really got an answer for that, did we?
We did not.
yeah,
Strictly
it was
speaking?
kind of yeah.
Yeah, we
Go
didn't
ahead,
get an
Val.
answer strictly speaking, but we see the crystal ether. I mean, I really don't want to get ahead of myself. I'll
Well,
wait.
we still have yet to go through the bosses and get to the end, so we're just kind of talking about it overall. But if anyone else have anything to add to that before we actually go in piece by piece? Nope.
I think we're good.
No.
All right. Well, Trinity Seeker. So we talked before about how Missy tempered the blade and kind of put them under her control. We see now that he took that a step further and made them abomination. Kind of combined them. The first thing you fight is called the Trinity Seeker, which is made up of 3 of them: Aggie the Iron Fist, Velibor the Baleful, and Blaz the Merciful, which is the monk, the samurai, and the dark knight.
Yeah.
It has all of their attacks, which you see in the field, and it has numerous it actually says things that they would normally say in the field as well. So you get to see now that she's basically made amalgamations of all of the blades, kind of fused them and crafted them, used Save the Queen for interesting purposes. Who else wants to add to Trinity Seeker?
I love
Who
watching
likes-
people die to it.
Wow.
Mhm.
It took me a few attempts to realize that the 4 arms were directional markers, for sure. Like maybe 3 attempts.
Like I said, I thought I died that many times in Castrum, Lacus, Litore, and then the Delubrum Reginae happened.
Mm-hmm.
That was it was
that is the place that was like metal. What's metal? That's the thing that's actually flying off my.
Yeah, I think I lost 70,000 metal my first run in there.
didn't lose
Yeah,
that
that's about
much.
right. I lost quite a lot.
But I think I lost around maybe 30k, but it was still a lot.
It was weird because the final boss, I don't think I died on, but all of the others.
The other
gave me
ones
trouble.
did well on. Final
My-
boss, dead.
Yes, but at the same time, the whole thing. This is not mechanic wise, but lore thing. the thought that Oracite can actually do something like we see in these bosses is like, what the fuck?
What were the Allegans thinking when they made this?
Are we actually? I mean, the Oracite in this, especially after getting the final note of the Delubrum, says that Oracite is the one that says that Oracite comes from Ultima, which is a
Yes.
Lucavi. So I'm not actually sure that this is Allegan per se, more like a Lucavi thing. And well, raises
Bozja has
many
definitely
questions.
made Oracite and Ultima significantly more complicated than it already was.
Mm,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's said earlier that she goes on to explain that the Fabled Blade Save the Queen was likely designed to function in a similar fashion to the Oracite created by Ultima.
it's
So-
confirmed that the blade is made of Oracite, and the fact that way it's stored in Nevembia, well, Queen Gwynelder's memories and basically her, not soul per se, but
Made of Urusite or just
imprints of
made of
sorts.
mimicked Urusite. Sounds like they were just trying to mimic it.
Right.
No, I think the Save the Queen is explicitly stated to have been made of Oracite. I think because actually Gerald says something like, "I never in my dreams I could actually replicate a material like this," which makes my brain itch in many senses
The
because
planet's
that's actually
best blacksmith.
because that's basically something that Grenold said, not word by word, but meaning is the same when he in the Tempest said that I've spent years trying to figure out how the ancients put these buildings together, and I never managed, and was like, well. So it gave me, considering the link between Grenold and Gerald, and it was like, and there's the fact. Well, we actually may get into this when we get to the last boss of the raid.
Yeah, let's go on to this next one, which is actually a trash mob, Dahu, the giant gator.
I love him.
Yeah. I actually, well, since it's kind of a trash boss of sorts, I actually thought you were going to go right to the
Well,
the
and I'd
the
still like to go over them just
things.
because, like, it's one by one, and it's interesting that we see some enemies here that we've seen in other games too.
Hmm.
All I know
And
is I want Dahu as
especially,
a pet.
huh?
I said all I know is I want Dahu as a pet. It's cute.
You can have him. The second real fight, the Queen's Guard.
Wait. Bonnie, anyone have a shrink ray?
No.
Sorry.
That gator
I'm
is
all
too
out of
big to
those.
be a pet. It's too big.
I'm on
Anyways,
6
moving
acres, we'll be
on.
fine.
I like the quad flamethrower. I like the dashes. I like the charges. I like dodging the monsters who are going to scream at you and getting shrieked into the wall. It's very mechanically
I liked
interesting.
how quickly you had to move for some of his attacks. Like he would do a stomp to one side, then you had to immediately run to the other side. It kept people on their toes.
It's just
think
a
that's
fun
some-
instance. Like, just mechanically speaking, this raid is really fun. It's on the cusp between, like, it's not nearly a savage, but the fact that you get hit by a mechanic twice and you auto die makes it fun.
Yes.
Yeah, when I was first doing it, a lot of people in my FC felt that it's basically a 24-man extreme, which
Yeah.
if you're going in for the first time with other people where it's the first time, I do agree with that.
Right.
It's already started to become trivialized as people, actually start using their essences and lost actions because those
Correct.
make a huge difference.
And also all the cross raising. I know it's not an alliance raid, but you can still select the floor and raise somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not nearly an extreme or a savage, but that's, I think, because you have more people in the encounter, it has less of a chance of failure. There's just a lot more people have to mess up.
Yeah.
And a lot more times. And since you can queue for it.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you can queue for that. That's something I wish that they would do to Castrum, is make
Yeah.
it so that you could queue for Castrum. I'm pretty sure that's like impossible for them to do in.
Castrum and Dalriana both could benefit from being
Mhm.
used.
Because, like, for me, there's not really much incentive for me to sit in Southern Front unless I'm helping friends. Because I don't
Yeah.
have anything to level in there.
Right.
So I'm like, why would I sit in here when areas outside of this content have a 100% chance drop rate?
Right. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, I think we're ready now, Amy.
Okay. All right. So the Queen's Guard, the 4 knights. Again, these were once resistance soldiers who were now transformed into Messiah's kind of almost amalgamation puppets. There was Mladen the Vanished, which was actually a Doman-born Hrothgar, born in ninja. Actually, is his proper job. Adis the Spirited, who was a warrior, one who held the axe. To gain the Swift Rim, he was. No, actually, that's to gain the Swift Rim was the warrior, and Adis the Spirited was the actual knight, the one with the sword and shield. And then Ratmir the Pale was the machinist to use the gun. So a few of these you have met, and a few and others you have not. There was actually, I went ahead and looked back, and I tried to find their records in the field records, and a couple of them I couldn't find. But when I went out into the field, the Bosnian Southern Front, you find them on the field, you just couldn't get their field records. So you could see them, but you just didn't get their history until you got the Queen's Guard, basically, until they turned. As for the fight itself, it is a long one, actually.
It is.
Longer than I thought.
It's substantial.
You fight them one at a time and then all at once.
You fight them all at once first, briefly, and then one at a time, and then they all pop and you're supposed to LB3, but my LB's never charged.
And they each have their own, it's usually only like 2 or 3 mechanics per night. And I mean, at first, when I first went in, I thought, okay, yeah, just defeat them in order of 4 nights, then it's done. Of course, at the end, they start charging up. I don't know if they ever do I don't know if they ever enrage or whatever, but I think they do. I think I was in there once, and it's like we took too long and they enraged. But at the end, yeah, once you defeat all 4, they all appear at once, and then they put up shields, which you have to attack on the one side that isn't covered by a shield, and then it's done. But yeah, it was fun, but a long fight. Even with good DPS, it's a long. Anyone else have any thoughts on this?
Bombs are fun. And watching people try to do geometry to figure out where bullets are getting shot is also fun.
It's simple geometry.
Few instances in which, for some reason, RNG blesses me because I have no fucking idea of where the bullet's going to ricochet, and I think I've only been hit like once or twice, and it's like, okay, I guess that's
I've
the
gotten
end.
to a point where I start popping Surecast during that mechanic so that the other healers in my party can't rescue me. Because I'm usually like right in a tiny safe spot and they panic rescue me if I don't pop Surecast. And I'm just like, I'm really tired of getting rescued into the mechanics. Please stop.
Yes, related.
Brag, but I've never been
But
hit
it's
by
so
it.
much fun.
What was that, Neela?
Not to brag, but I've never been hit by it.
Hmm.
I haven't been in there.
Moving on, the next thing you fight is the Bosnian Phantom. This enemy you actually see a lot in the tactics, or in the tactics universe. His model is used a lot. He had a mechanic which I was pleasantly surprised to see and to do, which was you need to
mean-
move with the circle.
Do you mean the XIV donuts?
Exaflare donuts, the moving Exaflare donuts.
Meowth probably recalls my scream of terror
Yes.
since she watched me do that for the first time.
I did not like doing that as a black mage the first time.
I've been going in there on Black Mage, and every time I'm like, why did I do this?
I've gone in there to. I actually go into Delubrum to just like stay sharp as a black mage, not get rusty. But there are times where I'm like, oh, why the hell did I subject myself to this?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun, but it's rough for cast.
Actually, otherwise, it's a rather easy fight. The main thing is the XIV donuts of the whole encounter.
Mhm.
And I think that's the only part that I really like. It's because it's so mean for casters, but so fun for melee. Oh yeah, we're just gonna hit it as we go, casters.
Yep.
Anyways, moving on to the Trinity Avowed.
That one's my favorite boss.
My favorite is the
interesting thing. Here's an interesting fact. Trinity Avowed has the most health out of anyone in here.
That does not surprise me in the least bit.
Now, these guys, it's Trinity Avowed is also made up of 3 of the blades: Stanik, Zevin, and Isolde. The Black Mage, the Paladin, and the Bard.
Whoa.
Okay.
Nobody cried.
No, I'm pretty sure. But so who liked being hot and cold?
I like it.
So, personally, my favorite thing about that entire fight is I always bring Reflect so that I can do damage to the boss whenever it does its Tank Buster. But a lot of people don't know that you can reflect the Tank Buster. So when they see me standing next to them on Black Mage, they just start losing their mind, trying to get away from me and start yelling in chat. And then they see me take 0 damage and they take 75% of their HP and they're like, what in the ever-loving fuck?
Caster's OP.
Yes! I'm just like, Reflect is your friend in here.
Yes, a little bit of revenge for all the other mechanics.
Yup.
Actually, remember the first time I saw the Tetris-like lines for the arrows, and me being the intelligent woman that I am, thought that maybe I have to walk into this thing to following the
no.
path.
You did the lava.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Nothing.
saw that mechanic and I immediately thought back to this little thing in PSO2 where you have to defuse bombs because they use the same kind of line pattern and you have to follow it every time it turns to find the right switch. And lo and behold, that was exactly how the Fire and Ice part there worked. I was like, okay, it's not too bad.
Yeah,
I
Trinity
just-
Avowed it was a it's a long fight. It actually has. I will list off how much HP it has. 107,446,520 HP. It has
Wow.
the most health out of all of the bosses in this raid, including the queen. By the way, that is including.
I don't. It's not that I don't like Trinity about. It's just that keeping track of I'm too hot, I'm too cold, and then I mess up with the temperature, and I was like, oh fuck it.
You don't like playing shoots and ladders?
No.
I personally appreciate how unforgiving the hot and cold mechanic is on that fight.
Yes.
You learn fast or you hit the floor.
Yeah, like I'm always a fan of mechanics being really punishing because I personally learn best by fucking getting my shit pushed in. So what?
No, no.
Like
Yeah,
death
this.
is like the best teacher.
Are you having a moment?
I want to say something about Emmett right now.
There it is.
Y'all. One brain cell.
Accused me of having one brain cell. You're the one who. You're the one who simps on a constant basis.
Though I have to say that even though the mechanic was kind of for fuck's sake, I really liked. Overall, the Delubrum was really interesting in terms of mechanics, but that one was really well done. I was like, well, I haven't actually seen this one in anywhere, which is where actually my stupid brain went into, oh, maybe I have to step into this thing through the narrow path, and I instantly died, and I was like, okay, maybe I don't have to do that.
The first words out of my mouth when I saw Trinity Avowed was, "Are we fighting Deoxys?"
Word. And to be fair, Trinity Avowed has a really nice ass.
So, how
she
about that
does
queen?
use the Shiva model, so.
Ayumi
she
has
uses
left
the
the
Shiva
chat.
model.
I mean,
Shiva
like, there
model.
were 3 people who got turned into that thing. So which one?
It just rotates asses
deep
every
lore.
few minutes.
Perhaps a butt such as that can only occur if you know, the world that cannot occur without.
It's funny.
The rejoining of butts.
I've talked before. I've spoken before on the lip and sundered Asians and how
Asian?
that's the true tragedy of the sundering.
Such tender cheeks. This was not my intention.
Oh my lord.
The assification.
So,
Okay,
queen.
I think that's enough. That's enough master fucking for
Let's talk about another set of assets, as it were.
assets.
Indeed.
So,
Facts.
yes, moving on from Trinity Avowed. So we get that cutscene, that neat little cutscene. Afterwards, we catch up to Messia. Has saved the queen. There's a giant crystal in front of her. She uses it by piercing herself with Save the Queen and turns into the queen. The literal queen herself. The alternate. Go for it. It's a long one, though, so
It's okay. Buckle in. Save the queen. A trigger weapon forged by the fallen Allegan Empire, Save the Queen was born from painstaking study of the icons and a desire to simplify and streamline the process by which they were summoned. Such devices, of which the Holy Blade stands as a prime example, served as a catalyst by which an icon may be called forth. Which entry did you want me to read? I was actually reading the data log.
Go ahead and just read the next paragraph, and we'll get there and we'll start talking about the queen.
As for how this legendary sword did come to ancient Bozja, none can say. In light of Bozja's military weakness, it is inconceivable that they could have seized or stolen it by themselves, and there is little reason to believe that Allag favored the Bozjans so much to have presented it as a gift. A more likely possibility is that an Allegan apostate who no longer looked kindly on the Empire defected to Bozja, and gifted his new countrymen with the artifact of his own accord.
And that's where things got interesting.
I read that and I instantly started thinking, you know what? I bet you that Emmett handed it to someone,
Here's a sword.
possibly like La Habrea, or even somebody La Habrea knew, like that was like working for him. It was like, here, have this sword, give it to the Bozjans. This is part of our master plan.
So let's talk about what she turned in.
She turned into a hot lady with no clothes in a robot car with one wheel.
That
Carrying a
doot-doot-doot.
trumpet.
Carrying a trumpet? I don't know. It's like...
Hard to be, monster fuckers.
It was a really weird design for that
I
chair.
mean, do you want the
like-
car or...
I mean, I don't know. It's like a unicycle almost
It is, but
With-
spider legs, and I'm just confused.
with it's two legs, an open arm, and one carrying a trumpet.
Doot doot.
Toot
You
toot.
know the thing. Technically, is elegant because we're told it's elegant. But if I never read the note, I would have thought that the design actually matches Mustadio's Lucavi form.
I think the
Yeah.
sword is Allegan. What it
I don't think
does...
the sword is necessarily elegant. I think the sword is probably more ancient than that. No pun intended. But the elegance, as many other things, found the thing.
A trigger weapon.
I'm
Trigger.
relatively confident that the sword was likely one of the creations of Eureka. I don't think we've gotten
Mhm.
confirmation of that, but it's way too similar to Zentetsuken in the way it functions, and we know
Yes.
that there were more Eurekan weapons distributed. Furthermore, Eureka is an icon from, at minimum, the Allegan era,
Yes.
and it was found in an Allegan weapons cache, so I'm just like, they're way too similar to be coincidence.
Allegan era artifice created
I
by
mean-
Eureka. Interesting, yes.
I mean, could be, but we
He's-
hardly know from where actually Eureka came from. So I think we don't know, as far as I know.
Yeah, that's why I said at minimum Eureka is from the Allegan era. It could predate that.
It may be one of the earliest primals.
Yeah. Especially with what its function is.
So the fight itself is crazy, to say the least.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that because Eureka's purpose was to forge weapons, basically. Maybe we could date which was the era in which mankind began for kind of warring each other, because that would actually
Second?
match second
I think that was the
astral
second.
astral era.
I think so.
I think that's actually one of the eras we propose for the Kingdom of Evil is becoming prominent.
Mhm.
So that's actually interesting. Anyways, yeah, the fight was really intriguing at the time for me, because the queen it actually plays like a chessboard in many senses.
Yeah,
And
that
the
was
fact
something
that
I wanted to ask you guys actually, is how many of
Hmm.
you realized that it was going to be literally a chess match as soon as you
As
plugged it
soon
in?
as the chessboard came into view, I'm like, oh god, this is Karazhan all over.
A little more interesting than that.
Yeah.
It was more interesting to Karazhan.
Oh yeah. It wasn't exactly Karazhan where you had to move around the pieces and do all that, but I'm like, am I really going to be playing a game within a game within a game within a game again?
As soon as I
Yeah.
saw the arena before we pulled, I was like, oh no. Because I barely remember how to play chess. And then I was like, please don't use, the more complicated moves. Please at least just use line directions.
Yeah, and in
Complicated
that
moves.
sense,
Just so easy though.
in that sense, they were kind, but I died many times to the queen, and I actually found interesting because it was one of the patches that came after things, and Queen Gunildur, Missy, yeah, but the queen actually forcing you to move and give you directions, even though you're not temporal actually, but she can do that.
Well, it's you do it or you die. It's not true being forced.
Basically, yeah. I mean, at the moment, I just thought of the consequences of. I was thinking, well, if you don't obey the command of your queen, then you die. And then I was like, how this translates to MSQ, because I always say that side quests translate into MSQ one way or another. And in this case, the implications, had me kind of concerned.
Right.
especially
It is
especially
curious, yeah.
especially considering the arena, because we have the glowing tree, we have the strange crystal spires being blue and the like, and I'm like, I don't like this. I mean, I like it, but it's like the implications make me concerned.
I think that's a good opportunity to continue the entry. I like what you're saying, Meowth. I don't know if there's any canonical reason to accept this, but it's almost like a almost tempering mechanic. Like, you definitely have to do it or you're going to die, but it's not a full mind control. Wonder if it's representative of the theme of maybe it's a strong enough icon that it can almost get through Echo. Just made me think about that when you brought that up. Just a little bit of tinfoil hat.
Go ahead with the entry. Then oh yeah, you did. Go ahead, Neela.
I was going to say, given that the Ascians had the full version, the non-sundered version of the Ascians, they became tempered. Obviously, it seems most likely that Xenos' relative power thing is what matters, and it may be at the same or similar power level to the warrior.
Yeah, exactly.
Play along.
I loved it.
Is it not that, or is it this, or is it just that your influence outweighs theirs? And given that Zodiark was insanely powerful, and that the Ascians had the full version of the Echo, and yet were tempered, well, it seems to add up to me anyway.
That's a good way to put it.
Moving on from the gift. In any event, the fact remains that the Holy Blade of Bozja, that which could be wielded only by the hand of Queen Gunhildr, was a trigger weapon, a relic of Allagan ingenuity. The mechanism by which it is powered is a wondrous thing. In the days of ancient Ivalice, a crystal known as the Arasite was worshipped as a reliquary. Come to this world from the heavens on the wings of Ultima the High Seraph, it houses power beyond mortal comprehension, a power that resonates with the desires of man, giving them concrete form. It was in their quest to artificially improve upon this natural phenomenon that the Allagans did create such a fearsome weapon, which forges the wielder's deepest desires into a trigger for calling forth an icon. Having succeeded in the summoning, the Allagans then sought a means by which they could bend said icon to their will, and, after much trial and error, came to the conclusion that this could only be accomplished by one possessing the power of the Echo. The discovery was a testament to the terrifyingly boundless knowledge of the Allagans. In other words, having Echo or Resonant is a prerequisite for using the blade, I suppose.
Isn't it crazy just how far ahead of their time they were in terms of both etherochemical knowledge and when it came to using weapons that relied on persons, like individual powers.
Yeah, it's stunning. Like the absolute height of post-sundered technology and science.
I know people
I'm
shit on Alag a lot because of how much we used to get Allagan stuff between ARR and Heavensward, but there's so much interesting stuff to cover and that we still need answers to regarding Alag.
When I actually read this file, my mind immediately. I mean, this is mostly a bar headcanon bar tinfoil hat, but I had I had, because of 12 lore, one of my theories was that Ultima and the Lucavi perhaps may have been the old gods of the Unsundered Star, and that the Convocation, the Science of Light, may have may well be the first Zodiac Braves that defeated them, and perhaps even the ancients being being an event that may have happened a very long time. Maybe the ancients themselves forgot this story. That was a theory, of course, but
I love
actually
this.
reading things, but reading this note made me kind of my brain go burr because it's like it's like it basically states that oversight comes from Ultima. Ultima is the source of oversight.
Yes.
So if we can find oversight in the source, and we know that oversight was 2 in the 13th, that means the oversight comes from. It has to be. It must have been in the star before the sundering.
Correct.
So it makes me think: is all the oversight we know? Of course, we know that we can kind of replicate oversight, but the pure oversight, does all of it comes from Ultima? Because there's also the fact that the ancients stored concepts, which are basically blueprints and memories in crystals. Are those crystals oversight? Does this crystals come? Do these crystals come from Ultima? And they've been recycling the oversight that can be found to create these concepts. It actually makes many things, puts many things into question, and the fact that the oversight, as described here, making the will of men come true, is another form of creation magic.
Correct.
So that's one of the reasons that make me, when it comes to oversight and Ultima, I'm just like, this doesn't necessarily that Ultima is going to be relevant in MSQ, but it's certainly setting some foundations to the lore of the ancients, if it's true. It's just that I see the connection, and the whole thing is like, well, I don't know how to express it properly. It's just
I really like this hypothesis. We don't have any timeline for when Ultima arrived, except that Ivalice worshipped it. It's super curious. Like, I took this a little bit further and thought maybe the Convocation members are unknowingly channeling the powers of the Zodiac directly, you know? And that maybe, like, inherent to using this power, corruption occurs. But this is all kind of endwalkery theory crafting stuff. But just to say it shortly, I'm onto you, Mouth, and I really like this one.
I have to say that I speculated too about maybe the first Zodiac Braves, because you know the Zodiac Braves, you know, the Abraham Reborn relic questline.
Yes. Yeah.
That involved, it was the first that involved like
The one with Apocalypse,
getting
that
the
tier?
power, yes, that one, getting the power of those who you defeated to imbue your weapon or yourself with power. And it makes me think. It made me think. Go back into ancient times, the possibility of the science of light. That is the first ancients that formed the convocation of 14, defeating the Lucavi, and each of them gaining some part of this power that later would be passed on their successors through their glyphs, because the glyphs are precisely a part of the whole summoning glyphs or of the Final Fantasy 12 Lucavi. So there's indeed a connection there, but that this is all tinfoil hat. So don't take my word for granted, please.
Do it.
What? I said that. I mean,
No,
that's
no, there's a joke to be had, and I'm going to say do it.
That's cute.
Does he
It
know
totally
that?
explains why his scythe is glowy in the MSQ and not in the trailer.
Does he
so
know
what
that
you
it-
see,
They soul glazed it.
it's been soul glazed.
Yep.
Oh boy. Yeah, so what you
Does
see
it-
at the end of that cutscene is that he's killing a soldier, and then his weapon glows like it's absorbing the ether of the life. And yeah, anyway, that's the joke. I ruined
Does
it.
he know that he needs to go into Alexander next?
Yeah, you got to farm that, what is it, A9?
A9.
You need a party. Think you can solo it?
Hope you like killing machines.
I mean, he's already like level 95. I'm sure he can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
and if not, he's got Fan Daniel. Two people, I think they can do it.
Oh,
know-
right.
I can continue reading this, but I just want to, like, again, this is another contrived example of if the enemy would just use all their resources at the start, they would have won.
Yeah.
Like, it's taking 48 players to kill each boss. And they're wiping and dying and raising. And I'm like, guys, just bring it out. Why'd you gotta play games?
Exactly.
We'd have lost. Just saying.
Well, we are at our 2-hour mark here, so I think
finish the
I think
entry
it's
and
pretty
then-
much covered. Go ahead.
Should I finish the entry and then, I guess, closing
Yeah.
sentiments?
Core, did you have something to say?
Just that it seems like we've covered most of what we wanted to go through, at least in terms of Bozja.
Go ahead and finish out the entry, and then I think that's where we'll close.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see here. There we go. In time, Mysia, having heard tell of the blade and the tragedy of Bozja's final queen, sought to manifest its primal power, with herself as conduit. Yet summoning alone would not suffice. She required a means by which to retain control over her body and will throughout the process. For this, she would need the power of the Echo. So, with knowledge gained through the Empire's vast information network, she located a Charlayan scholar by the name of Mikoto, known to possess the gift. Having succeeded in kidnapping her quarry, Mysia employed techniques deployed by Lord Aulus Mal Asina at the Resonatorium to reproduce Mikoto's powers within herself, thus becoming resonant. Mysia then sought to use the residual ether left in the blade by its former wielder, the woman born as Nevembia Voltiash, and her memories, to conjure the shade of Queen Gunhildr. While these reserves were sufficient to temper the resonant warriors who stood before her, however, they were woefully insufficient to accomplish her ultimate goal of becoming an icon. When she learned that a fount of abundant ether, such as she required, could be found in the ruins of the ancient Bosnian palace, Delubrum Reginae, her path was clear. There, with the power of the great crystal housed in its innermost chambers, Mysia at long last made the Holy Blade's true power her own. So it was that the queen stood before the warrior of light, with years of bitterness in her heart, that she might see Gabranth's vision made real by her own hand.
What an entry.
It's incredible.
I want these kind of
Go
entries
ahead,
for more
please.
characters. They're so good.
They're stupidly well written.
Just another example of Matsuno's writing.
Yeah, because all the evilist stuff is just it's a lot of lore. If you play Final Fantasy 12, a lot of it is in in the data log, and in fact, you wouldn't even know of the Science of Light's names if you didn't read the Espers that data log entries. That's that, that was one of the things that people actually may not know, that from where the Asians names come from, because it's just a side note in the Espers entries in Final Fantasy 12, and it's just a side, but it's there. So having all these field records and stuff, actually in tactics you have those too. You have a single entry for each and every character mentioned in the chronicles that you can check. It's just so Matsuno.
It is. I think that'll be it for today, though. We've covered everything from the very beginning of the Bosnian Southern Front, its history, all the way into Castrum, Lacus, Litore, into Delubrum, Reginae, all the way through to its end. A few of us have not completed Zadnor just yet, and a few of us have. So we didn't want to spoil each other on its ending. A few of us already have spoiled each other on some things, but we know there are some out there that also haven't gotten the same. So
I'll be working on it pretty much right after the podcast.
Yeah, I really want to see what you guys have as reactions to it. I have lots of thoughts.
I'm very excited. I've been waiting all week.
But yeah, I think that'll do it for today's this week's podcast. I look forward to us come back again next week. I think I'll throw out another poll and see what you guys want us to talk about. Yeah, I hope you guys have had a great time tuning in. Hope you guys liked us ganging up on Meowth and listening to me talk.
It's really wonderful. Happy to be here every week, guys. Thanks.
Yes.
Please bring your friends. We just reached 200 followers on Twitter and 100 on YouTube, I believe. So we are starting to grow. Please share us with all of your pals. Come hang out with us. It's just 1 day a week. It's a lot of fun. And we engage with chat. So I guess I'll close it out here. Thanks, Ayumi. And we'll see you all next week.
Later.
Take care.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.